Welcome to the July 2018 Star Wars Canon Update. Last month we got a new novel and 10 comic issues, so let's get to it. Thrawn Alliances came out last week. I've already done a full review on it and you can check that out, but the short version is that it was good. I didn't like it as much as the last Thrawn book, but that was a pretty tough act to follow. This book gives us a story of Vader and Thrawn as they investigate a disturbance in the Force which leads them to confront their past together as well. I won't get into spoilers here, but some of my recent videos have touched on some pretty big implications the book could have for the future of Star Wars. This one is definitely worth your time if you're a Thrawn, or Vader, or Imperial, or Anakin, or Padme, or Clone Wars fan. It does a really great job of catering to a lot of different sides of the Star Wars fandom at once. And as always, if you're interested, you can grab the audiobook for free by following the link in the description if you sign up for a free trial on Audible. Jumping over to comics, but sticking with Vader, Darth Vader 18 was a standalone story about Vader asking Tarkin to hunt him. It had some strong ties with the Tarkin novel and the character's childhood on Eriadu. I feel like a broken record every month saying, this issue was awesome, the Vader series is amazing, and you should all be reading it. But it's true, what do you want me to say? This issue was brutal and exciting, and I especially think the people that keep calling for a Vader Star Wars story film to be made would be into it. The second annual for Darth Vader also came out, and this was a little confusing. They're calling it the second annual, but the first annual for Darth Vader was from the first Darth Vader series by Kieran Gillen, and not this series by Charles Soule, just to clear that up. The story was about Vader uncovering the true purpose behind the Death Star. Obviously, he already knew it existed, but he goes to Scarif to learn that it's a planet killer, and the kinda sorta rivalry he has with the battle station begins. He uncovers Geonosian saboteurs and slaughters them like animals, which was a great moment, but then he tips off Lyra Erso that Galen is building a planet killer and sets in motion the events we see in the book Catalyst. There were moments in this comic that I liked, the Geonosian massacre being one of them, but Vader's jealousy of the Death Star and then the secret message to the Ersos, I don't know, that was a little much to me, but oh well. Moving on to Star Wars 50 and 51, which were both released in July, Queen Trios betrays the Rebel fleet, and then the Empire pops up to disabled ships and starts destroying them all. Willard, who briefly appears in A New Hope, is one of the first losses. Trios escapes the space station in a pod, and then Han shows up to try and help out, but he is chased by Vader, and that's how the second issue ends. I'm really enjoying Trios as she continues to be kind of a foil for Leia. They're in very similar situations, but they react to it very differently. Issue 50 also had a bonus story that showed Vader meeting with the Queen on her homeworld to convince her to go undercover with the rebels that was really good. Just a lot of great Vader stuff this month. In Dr. Aphra 22, our favorite archaeologist is still stuck in prison, and she gets to the bottom of that spooky Force ghost thing. It turns out to be some sort of hallucinogenic fungal biotoxin or something. The fungus has taken on some Force-like properties because it's growing around a long-dead Jedi. Staying true to this comic, it's all very strange, but in a wacky, fun way. Aphra tells the Empire about the fungus, and they strand all the prisoners, Sonostaros and Inspector Tolvan on board while they abandon ship. Also, the issue starts up with a little bit from bounty hunter Tam Posla, who is still on the hunt for Dr. Evazan, and has Ponda Baba's arm in a jar. I expect he'll play into Aphra's escape plan in the coming issues, but I just want to say I really like his character. For as short as his part in this issue was, I was really into it. Poe Dameron 29 continued telling us what Black Squadron was up to during The Last Jedi. They travel to an old supporter of the Resistance who winds up not wanting to stand up to the First Order. In fact, he tricks the pilots into assassinating a political rival that actually did want to help them. We get to see the public's reaction to the loss of Hosnian Prime, and it seems to have more impact than losing Alderaan to the Death Star did. The loss of Alderaan rallied systems to the rebellion, but I guess the loss of all the New Republic leaders has made people much more afraid this time around. The Lando Double or Nothing series as a whole I've found to be fun but forgettable. I enjoyed reading issue 3, but I had no memory of what happened in the previous 2 issues and had to reread them. This month was more of that. There's just a lot going on without a whole lot of context. I do really like the writing and the dialogue, it's laugh-out-loud funny at points. I'm just lukewarm on the overall story. The 4th issue of The Last Jedi adaptation gives us a few more details about Poe and Luke this time around. I would say Poe is even more brazen in his dealings with Holdo and the mutiny, but again, the best thing this comic is doing is giving us even more of Luke's thoughts and feelings. The final issue of the Thrawn adaptation wrapped up with some fun cameos. The Dynamic-class freighter, more recognizable as the Ebon Hawk, appeared alongside dreadnoughts from the original Thrawn trilogy and a YT-2000 freighter. We also got to see the Lothal rebels, but what excited me most was a very brief glimpse of a Chiss warship and Admiral Aralani. My fingers are crossed that means Lucasfilm is ready to show us more Chiss stuff in the future. Star Wars Adventures 12 is the last comic we'll cover, and like all the rest of the issues, it was small and kind of silly, but one of the stories is about Anakin and Padme, and they have a chance to just be themselves and not hide their relationship from anyone, and I thought it was actually really nice. Also released this month was Join the Resistance Attack on Starkiller Base, but I am so far behind on that series, as in I haven't started it. Unfortunately, I've not heard good things about it, but I can't give an actual informed opinion. For Story of the Month in July, I'll give it to Thrawn Alliances. Like I mentioned, it does a very good job of balancing a lot of things from multiple eras of Star Wars, and it makes major hints at some very interesting and exciting potential stories to be explored in the future. But that's it for July. In August, we'll be getting 9 new comic issues, so the Canon update will return on September 1st to cover all of them. Until then, make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep up with stories as they're released, like this video, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.